Good morning, everyone. It is 9 o'clock, so we are going to start the meeting.
Moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Councillor Greenwood Spears. Resolved that council resolve itself into committee of the whole closed session as authorized under section 239 of the Municipal Act to consider adoption of closed minutes of meeting held June 19th, 2024, labor relations or employee negotiations as it relates to the labor relations strategy for non-union negotiations, for union negotiations, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board as it relates to a notice of intent to arbitrate with a contractor.
Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Carried. So we'll move into closed session and go next door, and you folks can
Recording in progress.
Oh, we got a full crowd. Okay, we're going to begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating these traditional lands as a gathering place of the first peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the Indigenous people who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the county is committed to working with Indigenous people and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. And our first motion, please.
Moved by Deputy Warden Vandewaal, seconded by Councillor Gowdy, resolved that council rise from committee of the whole closed session without reporting.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. No addendums. Any disclosure pecuniary interest in general nature thereof by any member of council on any item on today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll note that. Adoption of minutes.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Saunders, resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting held June 19th, 2024 be adopted.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. There are no delegations or presentations today. We have a proclamation on Open Farms Days.
Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Lichty, and with your permission, Warden Smith, I'll just go to the resolve clause. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the County of Frontenac hereby declares August 16th to September 30th, 2024 as Open Farm Days in Frontenac County and reminds individuals of the importance of this 6-week celebration which supports local agriculture and food businesses in our communities, and further that the county encourages all residents to support local farms and food businesses by participating in this series of events.
Any discussion? Judy?
Thank you. Just want to make mention that during that time frame of August the 27th to the 30th, Wolf Island will be hosting the Canadian Plow Championship as well as the Wolf Island Plow Match Championships. So it falls in very nicely and we welcome everybody to come.
Excellent. Thanks, Judy. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Motion to move into the Committee of the Whole.
Moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Deputy Warden Vandewaal, that council adjourn and meet as Committee of the Whole Council with the Deputy Warden in the chair.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
At this time, we will move into briefings with the CAO, Mr. Kevin Farrell, presenting.
This is where you start telling jokes.
So I think Brianna's just bringing up the presentation, so let's give it a second here. Perfect, all set. So good morning, Warden, Deputy Warden, and Council. As always, I'll touch on the main points throughout my update, but happy to answer any questions at the end. So touching on my CAO schedule for July. So as you know, we had our paramedic base ribbon cutting July 5th. We had Frontenac County Councils today. We have a Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation EORN EOWC event later this afternoon. And next week we have our joint FMSC Board and Technical Support Committee meeting. So those are some of the highlights. I won't spend too much time on the AMO communications, but they're there for your perusal, as well as some education opportunities if you're interested. So a look at the Howe Island Ferry. So here are some numbers for the Howe Island Ferry comparing the second quarter for 2023 and 2024. And to summarize, this slide shows the percentage increases and decreases between 2023 and 2024 for the second quarter. So you see here that small vehicles are down, large vehicles are up, bikes are up, passengers are down overall. Vehicles left behind is down, which is great. That's a significant improvement. And overall voyages are down by 8.4%. The next slide is just a summary of where the numbers would have been at if we didn't have significant downtime due to the drive unit issues, which that's the piece that I'll highlight on this slide, is that with the drive unit issues, we had downtime of a little over 68 hours. In terms of a human resources update, so for recruitment, we've had 178 postings as of July 9th. Interviews are ongoing in all areas at Fairmount. A big congratulations to Dmitry Kurilovich, who is our successful candidate for the project manager senior planner role. We had interviews for paramedic chief director, which I'll speak to later in my slides. In terms of labor relations, for QP 2290, finance is calculating all the adjustments based on the award. We're working through pay equity maintenance and working through all those adjustments. Miscellaneous, Lisa Moreland continues to lead our scheduling software implementation. So we're getting close to launching that across the organization. We've also recently conducted a wellness survey. And the next slide provides a bit of a summary on that. So we had 115 responses, which was a good response rate. We're doing well in a number of key areas, working well together. People feel they're being treated fairly by their supervisors. There's regular check-ins, and they're coping and dealing well with change. But obviously, there's areas where we can always do better. So around communication, workload, mental health, those are some key areas we can focus on going forward. So 65% of our staff indicated they're interested in participating in wellness initiatives. So as a next step, we're going to communicate this out to staff, look at establishing a wellness committee, and develop initiatives based on the survey results and feedback that we've received. A Fairmount Home update. So behavioral support team attended a Behavioral Supports Foundation course that focuses on the role through team building, communication, and change management. Fairmount Home was also successful in obtaining a seniors community grant in the amount of a little over $23,000. So this is for a weekly exercise program that will include residents, caregivers, and community members. Fairmount staff have also completed 2 code white drills in June, and a big thank you to staff for their amazing work on emergency management drills, very important. On July 3rd, Lilac Terrace hosted the first of its summer evening concert series, sponsored by the Dementia Society of America. So that's also been well received. Doesn't want to go to the next slide. There we go. As you know, on July 5th, we had a very successful ribbon cutting event for our new Frontenac Paramedic Base here on Battersea Road. We had a great turnout. Everything went smoothly, and there was good media coverage. So thanks to all of council who were able to attend. In terms of digital engagement, we had excellent performance in the month of June, measuring just over 88,000. This is good improvement over last month and is up 15% for the same period last year. The top performing web pages on our sites were related to using the Howe Island Ferry, employment in Frontenac, and the KMP Trail. The top performing social media posts were a paramedic cardiac arrest save pin award. That was on June 4th, and a post related to the Emergency Services Ride for Pride from June 12th. Development inquiries and applications are a bit slower than this time last year, and I'll point out that 3 of the 15 applications processed in June and July were consent applications under delegated authority. And an update for economic development. As we just heard, Open Farm Days are quickly approaching with the launch event set for Friday, August 16th at 4 p.m. And that'll be at the Frontenac Farmers Market in Centennial Park in Harrowsmith. So as part of our parking lot improvements, we were able to add 17 additional parking spaces. So you'll see some of the construction work in these photos. And then this is the after effect. So this has proven very effective, especially on event days for the county and our partners at the Conservation Authority. So when we both have events going on, it gets quite busy. So you'll see people are now using those 17 spots, and it's really improved our parking situation here on the site. We also recently had a successful potluck lunch with the two organizations, the county and the CRCA. So this was a great turnout and was enjoyed by both staff. And my wife's homemade peanut butter cups were a big hit, so that turned out great. And here's just some more photos of the potluck that we had. And finally, I would like to extend a big congratulations to Deputy Chief Mark Gowdy, who's here today, on being named our next chief paramedic. Mark will commence in the role on September 30th as we bid a very happy retirement to our current chief, Gail Chevalier. So thank you, Gail, for your service and leadership, and we look forward to working with Mark in his new role. So congratulations, Mark. And that's the end for me, and I'll take any questions.
Councillor Greenwood Spears.
Thank you. Regarding the Howe Island frequency of the breakdowns, and that it's appreciated that we have the total number of hours. I think probably 48 of those hours were over the course of the May weekend, and that. But I've been losing track. Is it 17 times that it would have broken down between April and May?
I don't have that number, but Rob is here if you have any comment.
So through the deputy warden, we would have to go back and pull exactly. What we did is pulled just the hours at this time.
Thank you. I would appreciate to know the frequency in that because there has been significant interruptions. So the fact that there's a decrease in small vehicle traffic and pedestrian, et cetera, and the decreased number of people waiting is because they aren't waiting when there isn't a boat. That's the sad truth of it, but thank you. I'd appreciate the information.
Any other questions for Mr. Farrell? None? Okay, then we're going to do consent reports from the CAO. And if you want any of those discussed, you can ask to have them pulled out, or else they're all in one.
So that's moved by Councillor Gowdy and seconded by Councillor Fowler that council consent to the approval of reports A through D that are considered routine items.
Nobody wants any pulled out. I would like to have a comment on B. So seeing none of the other ones, my only comment is I want to give credit where credit is due. The County of Frontenac spent an enormous amount of resources in setting up the Municipal Services Corporation, setting up communal services, doing all of the legwork. And then EORN comes in and says, well, we'll apply for a grant for you, which they have. And they got $1 million and they give the county 100,000. To me, that's a little bit insulting. And I have to say it, whether we're going to agree to the letter of understanding later today and all of those other things, but I think it's an insult for all the work that the county has done. And I have to say that. So, Warden Smith.
I have to respond since I am the vice chair of EORN right now. I've only been to one meeting, so I don't know a lot of the details. But what I can tell you is that I believe it is early in the process and the monies that have come in need to be looked at in the long term to be spread out over the 13 municipalities that are part of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. So I think this is the beginning. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's 100,000 we didn't have when we started this corporation. And because they did the work to get the money, using us, mind you, as the project example, they were able to get it. So I don't think we want to burn our bridges because there's maybe going to be lots more money to come. And we'll be certainly looking at different asks down the road. Thank you.
Councillor Greenwood Spears.
Thank you for pointing out the disparity in that. I actually thought that when the million came in, that it was going to be going towards the Frontenac Communal Services Corporation that, and just flowing through EORN. So it's enlightening to hear that the 100,000 is the only figure coming towards Frontenac County, and that, and you're right, that this seems to have been the group that has led the charge. And that's, so I appreciate your comments on that. Because I thought then maybe they wouldn't be coming back asking the townships to continue to front money as we have at the start to get this started and rolling off the beginning in that. So what it sounds like is that next year in our budgets, how much are we supposed to be setting aside for support of all this communal services?
Councillor Lichty.
So there are two positions here. One, I don't like the 100,000 either, but it's $100,000 that's supposedly targeted developing the basic information, the protocols, the standards that we are going to need. And if we didn't have this 100,000, we'd be paying for it out of our original 600 and whatever thousand that we invested. So there's also an additional 20,000, the way I read it, that's available to us. And I know that there's potential for more money. So if we get this done, so I don't look at it as unfortunately, as a reward that we did all this, look at us and EORN gets the credit. The reality is we would have to spend this money anyway. So there's 120,000 coming in to cover our costs. If we get more, wonderful. But so I don't see that. I have a little different opinion than you do, but I do appreciate where you're coming from.
Okay, so if there are no more discussion, then we will vote on all of them. Oh, sorry. Greenwood Spears.
Sorry, just on one of the other pieces, and that was the tree canopy policy. I was very appreciative that we have that, but it's also come to my attention that this is a wonderful piece for focusing on land preservation, but we are Frontenac County with a lot of waters, rivers, streams, lakes, et cetera, and that. And we don't have a policy that we look at development impact on water, fisheries, sediment, and things of that nature. And we've certainly come in contact with it over at the Frontenac Islands, and I'm sure it will probably raise its head in other areas. And I think we should be looking at getting a policy for involvement when we talk about respecting the First Nations, and that when you're talking about habitat such as the sturgeon, that there is actually federal funding for the Akwesasne Nation to look after and monitor that along the St. Lawrence. And we need to look at getting policies in place that look after our water as much as our land.
Councillor Fowler.
Yes, regarding the tree canopy policy, I was looking at this thing and I just wonder what the definition of no clear cutting. I mean, is that just wiping out everything? Is that, can anybody answer me that?
I think no clear cutting means no clear cutting.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Is there any definitions of small logging operations? How would they be affected by this policy? And where would they go to get that information?
So the sections referenced in this is right out of our official plan. I'm looking at Joe for confirmation. So the policy is just referencing pieces that have already been adopted through the county's official plan. So we can get you more clarification on what those definitions and are, but this is just to approve a municipal tree canopy policy that essentially references the official plan that's already in place.
Counselor Leonard.
Well, we definitely, before we, as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't pass that. That should be taken out of there because you take a local farmer that wants to clear a 10-acre or 15-acre piece to grow more crops and whatever. This very well could eliminate him doing that, and that's something that we don't want to stop. But we definitely need more clarifications on it. Thank you.
Mr. Gallivan would like to comment?
Through you, Deputy Warden. So the important thing to remember here, this is just a policy. It's not a bylaw. So at your township level, you could pass a tree cutting bylaw that would lay out those kinds of details that you're talking about and clear cutting and logging. But none of the townships have a clear cutting or tree cutting preservation bylaw. So that's where those details would be dealt with. This is just a high level policy of overall tree protection, if that clarifies it for you.
Counselor Lichty.
When I first looked at this particular item, I thought, this could be a problem, and I realized it was part of the official plan, so it's already, and it is just a policy, so it's already in place. But at North Frontenac, we have a fairly heavy-duty logging industry, but 70% of the land in North Frontenac is Crown land, so we couldn't touch it anyway. So the majority of our tree cutters or logging operations are relatively small. They're very much aware of what they have to do to maintain the forestry assets. So as far as this only being a policy, I don't see anything wrong with it.
The only comment I'd make is I appreciate that you say it's only a policy and that municipalities have to put their own bylaws in. But you can be assured that if somebody didn't want something developed, he's going to say, well, the county policy says no tree cutting. But, okay, if there are no more discussion, then all in favor of A through D. Carried. Committee of Management of Fairmount Home.
Moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by Warden Smith, that Committee of the Whole Council adjourn and meet as Committee of Management of Fairmount Home with the Deputy Warden in the chair.
All in favor? Carried. Are there any questions on the report? Seeing none?
Moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Councillor Fowler, that the Committee of Management of Fairmount Home adjourn and revert back to Committee of the Whole Council.
All in favor? Carried. Recommended reports from the Chief Administrative Officer. And you would like to do? Yep. You're gonna handle that?
So next up, we have Ms. Nishat Efrin to speak about our conservation energy management study.
Thank you for the opportunity to present this report to us, to County of Frontenac. I'm going to share some slides, so I'll use share screen to share the presentation. Okay, so welcome everyone. Can you please confirm if you are hearing me correct or clearly?
Yep.
Okay, so thanks everyone and welcome to the Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan results. So this is a great opportunity, opportunity for Aladeco Consulting Inc. To be able to prepare this report for the County of Frontenac. So for today's agenda, we have the introduction and Ontario Regulation 2020-25-23 reporting requirements. So basically saying what do we have to report? Then we have prescribed operation type, which facilities, this will dictate which facilities of Frontenac should be reported as per the Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan. we're going to review the past results. We are going to then review the present situation and what we can do for future and some of the next steps, and then we'll have conclusion and Q&A. So as per the Ontario Regulation 2523 reporting requirements, we have to prepare an energy conservation and demand management plan. It has to be approved by the senior management of the county, a description of the results of previous activities that we have to provide, a summary of annual greenhouse gas emissions for each prescribed operations. So here prescribed operation has a meaning. I'll describe it in the next slide. The cost and savings estimate for the current and proposed activities and measures. Also, we'll have to include a description of any renewable energy generation facility operated by the county. So here it talks about which, so give me 1 second, I'm gonna reduce my video here. Okay, so here we can see as per the reporting requirements, the municipalities will have to report the building types, if any of these building types they have. Number one is administrative offices or related facilities. We do have public libraries, cultural facilities, includes rec centers, indoor gyms, swimming pools, community centers, etc. Then we have ambulance stations and associated facilities or offices. We have fire stations, police stations, storage facilities, building that is related to treatment of water or sewage, and parking garages. Now, I have highlighted the two that actually is relevant to the County of Frontenac, which is administrative office and ambulance stations. So as per the requirements, we have 8 facilities that should be reported. So here you'll see the admin office is also part of the senior living community, which is the Fairmount home. So we do not have a requirement to really report on senior community, living community, but we do have a requirement to report on admin office. So that is why this is part of the reporting requirements. We also have ambulatory stations, such as 7 paramedic stations that we'll review. And to see the 5 years achievement for 2020, from 2019 ECDM plan results. So in the past 5 years achievement, what we should be looking into was initially included in 2019 ECDM plan, and we are reviewing based on what was originally included in that plan and going from there. To review this 5 years achievement, our base year was 2018. So that is the year that we established the baseline. And then from there, we are monitoring what progress we have made towards 2023, which is the 5 years from 2019 to 2023. If you look into the results, you'll see in this table, it shows 23% reduction in GHG emissions. Also, we can see 11.4% reduction in equivalent kilowatt hours. Total cost savings we have calculated using 2023 rate that's in the report, and it comes about $15,000. So that's the total achievement. The county initially had target of 1% reduction in the GHG emissions, and we are seeing that it has achieved 23% reduction. So some of the points that we think are related to this reduction could be in 2019 and 2020 due to some COVID shutdown, and within 2019 to 2023, there were several initiatives or energy conservation measures that the county had implemented, which also showed significant results. Now, for the past, we can see that if we compare 2018 baseline to 2023, which is the year we are reviewing, we can see that there is quite a bit of decrease in equivalent kilowatt hours. What is equivalent kilowatt hour is like we have converted all sources of usage and converted all them into one parameter of measurement, which is equivalent kilowatt hour. So we can see there's quite a bit of reduction in Battersea facility, as well as some reduction in paramedic stations. When we look into GHG emissions reduction, we can see also biggest contributor to the reduction is Battersea facility, which is normal because this is the highest contributor of energy usage within the portfolio of the county. We can also see there's a little bit of reduction in GHG emissions from paramedic facilities as well. Now, if you want to see how efficiently these facilities been running in 2018 and now in 2023, we can see a comparison of how their energy is being used. And you can see that all the facilities has either stayed the same or had some reduction compared to 2018, except 706 Fortune Crescent, which is quite promising because we see that there is quite a bit of reduction in 250 Ballast Road and some reduction in Battersea, which is encouraging. Now we are moving to present situation. So the county will now set up its baseline using 2023 equivalent kilowatt hour or the usage, and we'll consider how it is performing in the next 4 years from 2024 to 2028 in terms of energy reduction or GHG reduction. So the present, we can see that the usage is 3.5 million equivalent kilowatt hour, which is 87% is rendered by Battersea facility, and the rest 500,000, about 500,000 equivalent kilowatt hour, or 13%, is being contributed by paramedic stations. So paramedic stations altogether is a small portion of the entire portfolio. Now, if we look into how energy usage and GHG emissions are, what is the percentage of their usage? We can see that energy usage percent in 2023 is 87% by Battersea and rest 13% by paramedic stations. GHG emissions is almost similar, except it is 85% rendered by Battersea facility and 15% by paramedic stations. Now, if you look into the present situation and benchmark them against similar comparable facilities, we can see that Battersea facility is 1.1 equivalent energy usage. So it's and the median data that we have received from broader public sector, we see that that is 1.47, which is higher than Battersea facility. So we can see Battersea facility is actually doing well compared to the median of Ontario facility of similar type of usage. So here we can see that how paramedic stations are doing compared to the similar median ambulance base or station in Ontario. That's been reported within broader public sector data. We can see that most of the paramedic facilities of the county is performing quite well compared to the median data, which is 1.11, and except 250 Ballast Road. And I did have some discussion with the county staff regarding the usage being higher in 250 Ballast Road, and we think that it's because it not only operates as an operational facility, but it also houses a number of equipment that could render to its higher energy usage index. So now we come to future, what we can do, what we recommend for energy conservation measures to the Battersea facility. So Battersea facility so the county has a target of 1% reduction in GHG for the next 5 years. And to achieve that, we are recommending some of these energy conserving measures. So for Battersea, since this is the most energy consumer of the entire portfolio. We do have more measures that we have recommended for this facility. So you can see there's some control air dampers and balancing of air handling units. We do have some lighting upgrades, some night setback for temperature for BAS, also some upgrade to air handling unit from gas fired to higher efficiency, as well as we do have some domestic hot water boiler that can be replaced by gas fired condensing boiler. One thing to keep in mind, these are, majority of them are planned replacement. And in cases where we are seeing there's a planned replacement and can be moved, can be replaced with a higher efficiency unit, we have provided that recommendation. And if you look into the implementation year, you can see that they will be implemented in different years. So some of them will be in 2024, then 2025, and then there are measures that will be implemented in 2026 and 2027. So we have included the measures that we recommend to replace within the next 4 years. Sorry, 5 years, yeah. And then we have also recommended some measures for the paramedic facilities. We do have measures such as lighting upgrade. We also have measures for the replacement of oil-fired furnace to air source heat pump. Yeah, so the reason being there is the oil furnace and oil usage and fuel usage kind of contributes more to GHG, and any opportunity to reduce this and change to heat pump or air source heat pump will actually provide significant reduction in GHG. So we have tried to target the measures that towards the GHG reduction, knowing that the county is very interested in climate protection and GHG reduction. So for next step, what can be done? Implement the energy conservation measures that's been identified in the report. Monitoring progress towards annual energy savings target is a good way to see where we are heading, whether the savings been achieved. Consider human factors to reduce energy. Sometimes there are some operational savings that can be achieved through just being mindful of energy usage, where things can be turned off, not being used, we can do that. Also implement an energy tracking and monitoring system. That is always very helpful to understand where energy is being used. And we see that clients who have implemented the system has greater visibility of their portfolio. Consider fuel switching. This is recommended because fuel switching can contribute to GHG reduction. Countries is still using some propane and some natural gas. Wherever possible, if we switch to electricity, that will reduce GHG emissions. Conduct GHG emission study. That is also a very good way to understand which part of the portfolio or which measures or which areas are attributing to GHG emissions, and what can be done to further be more aggressive towards savings GHG. Now, at the end, I also have a recommendation to participate in the Partners for Climate Protection Program. As we understand that more than 500 municipalities are currently taking advantage of this program, and this is a good way to really share knowledge and see where GHG emissions can be reduced. There are 5 steps process that laid out in this program, and county can definitely benefit from doing GHG inventory, study, and review the areas where GHG related measures can be implemented. So that's some of our recommendations for next steps. Now, in conclusion, we see that what happened in the past. So in 2024, ECDM plan shows that the achievement of last 5 years, which is 2019 to 2023, county was able to reduce energy consumption by 11.4% and reduce GHG emissions by 23%. Majority of the GHG emissions coming from actually using less natural gas and fuel. And the present situation is 2023 energy consumption data for the county of Frontenac. We can see these are the contributors of equivalent kilowatt hours currently. So 2 million kilowatt hour from electricity, 1.8 million equivalent kilowatt hour in natural gas, 70,000 equivalent kilowatt hour in propane, and 49,000 equivalent kilowatt hour from fuel oil usage. So in conclusion, the ECMs or energy conservation measures that's been recommended should provide 6.7% reduction in energy consumption and 8.4% reduction in GHG emissions. The established target for 2024-2028 should be 1% natural reduction in GHG emissions compared to 2023 baseline target. So if you, in your presentation, it says 1% reduction in energy usage, it actually should be corrected to a 1% annual reduction in GHG emissions. That's the target for the county. Achievable through capital investment in ECM. Obviously, a capital investment is needed if we want to implement all the ECMs. Wherever possible, we have tried to keep it towards the planned replacement, so it is not burdensome for the county to achieve this target in terms of capital investment. And also additional actions to improve energy efficiency in facility operations, such as participating in certain program, conducting study, looking into human factors and such. So that's the end of presentation. Thank you very much. Any question, comments? I'll stop sharing my.
Do we have any questions for Nishat on the report? Councillor Greenwood Spears?
Thank you. Since the building here is brand new now, I assume that we probably have already achieved a significant amount of savings from the previous old administration building. And the second piece of that is regarding the Wolf Island statistics. And I know you indicated at one point that, you know, the county doesn't own the building but it was actually in 2022 that I believe notice was given for the official end of the paramedic building on Wolf Island that you don't own, but I see the figures are all in there still. So I'm just a little curious on that.
So I understand that 905 Woodbine, there is a building that county, it's been excluded from the report. There is one of the building that is no longer part of the portfolio that also has been excluded from this report because it's no longer being operational. And there are some facilities we have not provided any ECM because we understand that they're either new or they're not operational by the county. So maybe someone else can jump in and provide a bit more background on that as well.
We have somebody that's wanting to jump in.
So.
Oh,
there
okay,
was a
sorry, I
reference-
wasn't sure if it was directed to me.
Yep. So thanks, Nishat. So just to touch on that, so there was reference to the Wolf Island Station, and this study goes back to 2018, 2019. So there would have been data on that station. Yeah, so we're required to do this study every 5 years per the regulations. So the last time we did this was in 2019. This is the 2024 report. We'll have to do this again in 5 years.
So just to follow up on that then, so the 6.6% figure that was Wolf Island of the past, and that would have been automatically taken out of this data and added to the savings of the greenhouse gases and efficiency, correct?
That's a great question, and I'm looking to Nishat if she has any further comment around that.
So, okay, so maybe I'll explain what I understand the question is. I think you're trying to understand whether if the building is no longer part of the portfolio, how we deal with that, correct? Okay, so what happens is that, right, we are preparing this report based on the information that we have right now, 2023 report information. So when we do this filing again in 5 years, and that would be 2029, we'll then we'll have to then adjust the baseline. So for example, 2 or 3 buildings are sold, then we should take out the consumption of those 3 buildings from the entire baseline, and the new baseline will then exclude those buildings usage from this report, what we had, what we have included, and then redo the baseline and say these buildings were sold, so we no longer evaluate the usage of this building, or we don't consider them as part of the report. And that's how we have dealt with one of the building that's been sold out already. So we've taken it out of the portfolio and we just evaluated how the remainder of the building performed compared to their baseline.
Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Through you to the CEO, will these recommendations come to us at budget time?
So the motion states that this will be, that we're receiving the recommendations, but these will be brought back for future consideration from council.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then we do have a recommendation here from Corporate Services.
Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Greenwood Spears. Be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac approve the 2024 County of Frontenac Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan attached to this report as Appendix A, and further that staff bring back a report to Council for future consideration on how the county can implement the recommendations within the ECDM plan.
Any other comments? All in favor? Thank you very much, Nishat, for the report.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Received, and looking forward to the next time.
Hope to see you soon. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Planning and Economic Development Futures Grant Award.
Moved by Councillor Gowdy, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Be it resolved that the warden and clerk be authorized to enter into a partnership agreement with Frontenac Business Services for $5,000, and that Council of the County of Frontenac offer its former congratulations to Frontenac Business Services on its 20th anniversary. And finally, that the up to $20,000 from the Strategic Project Reserve be authorized to complete the operational review.
Questions? Councillor Greenwood Spears.
I believe the 20,000 is in regards to doing an overview of medical clinics and that throughout the townships, none of which the county owns, and that townships are involved or not-for-profits are involved, et cetera, and that, as I'd indicated before, and that the money that we had set aside for the recruitment of physicians and nurse practitioners was to be for the recruitment of nurse practitioners and physicians and that. And I know that we've had it turned down for the request from Wolf Island, but I don't see why we're spending $20,000 to do an assessment of medical clinics when the people that operate it could certainly send us a letter, and they're pretty good at doing the assessment of what's needed.
I guess, did you want to respond to that?
So yeah, our planning and our economic development team has been working closely with the clinics, and this is something that has been identified that they want to move forward with. And I think it's come before the Planning and Economic Development Committee as well as Council. This motion is to access the funds from the reserve to move forward with that plan.
I guess my question when I read this too is, we're still going to go down the same road of trying to attract. We're still going to go to all of these things that we're supposed to go to put Frontenac County out there, I assume. And I guess my question is, are we moving the funds that we had set aside for doctor attraction and more or less taking it away from Debbie? And asking Frontenac Business Services to do the work that that Debbie was planning on doing. Which I'm not saying isn't good or bad. I'm not saying that because I know that we didn't really have the resources to put a lot of time and effort into it. So is that the partnership we're trying to create?
The partnership would be to support that work. It would be also coming from the County of Frontenac, but also the partnership with Frontenac Business Services because they support businesses within our community and have worked on this before. So this was additional money that we had applied for, and they had different awards that were celebrated. Am I answering your question?
So in other words, they're going to work more or less with your team to promote the whole medical situation in Frontenac County.
They're very much in support of the physician recruitment and retention within Frontenac County. And they have been, we've connected with Anne and her team and the board. She's shared with the board the importance of the physician recruitment. So yes, they're.
Councillor Lichty?
So are we talking an additional 20,000 or 20,000 in total? So is it gonna be 40 or 20?
It's 20,000 in total. This was just the motion to remove it from the reserves for the operational review. The part that we were bringing forward as well was the 5,000 that was from the award that we were awarded from Frontenac Business Services. So just pulling that all together into one report.
Man, so maybe I'm a little slow today, so bear with me. It's just an age thing, I guess. Ray, you don't have to laugh so much. So we have $20,000, Councilor Greenwood Spears, I agree with her, it's $20,000 sitting in the budget for physician recruitment assistant and so on. So that's the money we're intending to use for this. Just yes or no?
So up to 20,000. So we're seeking council approval to be able to pull that money from the reserves to support this. And the good news story along with this is that we were also successful through the Frontenac Business Group with an additional 5,000.
Councillor Greenwood Spears.
Okay, I still would like to have it noted and corrected in that because frequently we are coming across talking about the support for physician recruitment and nurse practitioners is the wording that we passed. And it keeps getting eliminated from it and it's treated almost like a lesser point. And I know when the assessment was done and Debbie was over and talked with the people in the Wolfhound Clinic and that, they were crystal clear as to what their needs were. There doesn't need to be a lot more involvement in assessment of it. They keep their order in tight ship. But we need to make sure that we recognize it's not just about physician recruitment because the reality is that 30 years ago, they started doing nurse practitioners and the general practitioners at that time recognized that there's going to be a dramatic shift in the requirements for the needs of general practitioners. And that is why there is a lower application to that program and a higher application towards the nurse practitioners. So it's time for us to catch up with that shift, in my opinion.
Okay, and in the report, it doesn't mention doctors or nurse practitioners. Not in the motion. Okay, are you wanting to read it, madam? Oh, you did already read it all? Oh, yeah, I guess you did. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Planning and Economic Development update to the charter.
Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac approve and adopt the update to the Charter for Economic Development attached to this report as Appendix 1.
Any discussion? Councillor Greenwood Spears.
I just wanted to check that if we adopt this, are we committed to actually fund the recommendations? Because there's been a problem in the past where strategic directions were decided on, then the funding didn't follow through. So I hope that we're ready to fund economic development because we have suffered in that area, and I am part of that committee.
Mr. Allen?
This is a policy document. It sets priorities. Budget it flows from this. So we set and approve budget based on the priorities that we've approved. We bring those changes and things to council during the budget process. So you will see projects and proposals associated with these priorities at the time of budget when we look for funding.
Right, so that's why my question is this council ready to fund what we might approve here today?
Whatever's within the budget, of course. Yeah, Councillor Lichty.
Well, I was just gonna say, excuse me, say the very same thing. The committee is a creature of the county council, and we don't have a bottomless pocket. So even though it's really nice to have these things, and some of them are good, and I really like the document, by the way. It was an easy read and it was well put together. It all comes down to dollars and cents at the end of the day. So.
Okay, if there is no more discussion, all in favor? Carried. Opposed? Oh, sorry. Carried. KMP Trail, Central Frontenac request.
Moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Warden Smith. Be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac authorize the Warden and Clerk to execute an agreement with the Township of Frontenac Islands for the removal of boarding restrictions and indemnification of the County of Frontenac for the Howe Island Ferry, and further that the removal of boarding restrictions take effect commencing Monday, July 22nd, 2024.
I just want to say I'm glad that we got to this and that the CAO agreed to bring it forward and work with our CAO. So I think we've got to a relatively agreeable or happy place for now. Are there any discussions on it? Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I want to thank everybody all staff who've been involved in working our way through this. This has been about an 8-month process. After numerous discussions, we came to the conclusion this is the right decision, the right way to move forward. We realize there'll be some issues for some individuals. We'll have to deal with those as they occur. But the reality is there's no easy solution to the question of the current policies. And we believe this is the best solution moving forward. So thank you.
There are no other comments. All in favor? Carried. Central Frontenac request for trailhead funding.
Moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Gowdy. Be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac acknowledge the request from the Township of Central Frontenac for trailhead funding to support the construction of an accessible washroom at the Sharbert Lake Beach, and further that staff be directed to develop criteria for establishing trailheads and for considering funding requests for the development of trailheads, and further that the draft trailhead criteria and funding mechanisms be reviewed by the Planning and Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Comments? First, when I read it, I thought that they were looking for the money, which they sort of are, but I agree with the process of how to get something set up. Councillor Lichty.
So I had the same opinion when I read it. I'm going, well, just a minute. It almost looks like this could be divided into two. The second part is a bigger picture item. Was what are we doing from the trail from here to here? What's it going to look like? Where should these washrooms be located? Where should the trailheads be located? And so on and so forth. And then the individual ask is Central Frontenac's $100,000 subsidy for a washroom. You can do it as one because it's not asking for any money right now, but I would have thought that might have come down that way. So.
Yes, Warden Smith.
Just to speak to this, there has been a committee working on this for quite some time. And back a number of years ago, we had a consultant come in and look at that whole section from the medical center right through to the caboose. And it's basically an elongated park is what he had called it. I'd never heard that phrase before, but it is the central part of where people do gather. And there is all kinds of parking just past where the washroom would be put. And it would be a year-round washroom. So people using the trail would be able to stop. They would be able to get coffee. They would be able to go to a grocery store, a pharmacy, all from the one spot. So it may lack a little bit in the parking area, but it certainly brings people closer to amenities that they might need if they're on a long trail or a long snowmobile ride, like warmth.
I guess that, to me, that raises a little bit of a question though. Is it for the trail or is it for Charlotte Lake? I know it's a combination. Part of it's the trail, but if it's a totally accessible handicap washroom and people are on the trail with their four-wheelers and all of these other things, I'm not saying that there aren't some disabilities. But it's actually a bit of a combination for, to me, when I'm listening to you, for the hamlet of Charlotte Lake, and it has some connection to the trail. But I'm not opposed to sending it back to staff and coming up with a plan, how we fund these things moving forward for whatever comes up out of it. Councillor Fowler?
You know, one of my concerns is the area is not really that big. I think there'd be a lot of crowding in the area. So I'm asking Warden Smith directly if, are we going to be able to expand that area along the trail up towards where the caboose is?
There's no room for expansion, but there is parking along the trail further down. You have to remember that the bulk of the uses is 2 months. In the summertime, it's really busy. That's not when the trail is, well, it is busy. There's ATVs, but in the wintertime, that it's totally open. There's nothing goes on at the beach in the wintertime. So 10 months of the year, it's very much the trail users. 2 months of the year, it's pedestrians and beach users. So it's a pretty good combination.
When I look at the trailhead situation, you're going to have people bringing their ATVs or snowmobiles to that location on trailers. So they're going to need a large parking area to accommodate those items.
The parking would happen down across from the township office, which is still part of this elongated park area. So they would park there. They would come up the trail going south, or they could park at the medical center on weekends, which is when it's the busiest time. So that whole area is got lots of open parking in the wintertime especially, which is when a lot of the snowmobilers happen.
Councillor Leonard?
Well, I was just through there in the weekend on my ATV and it definitely is used. It was loaded. I'm assuming the old facilities will be demolished, taken out, and where is the exact location of the new facility going to be?
It's going to be at the north end where the tourist booth is.
Where the tourist booth is?
Yes,
Okay, that's
that will be moved more.
up towards the caboose there.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
And
this-
that will,
the end of the beach.
at the end of the beach,
Yeah.
right? And that will contain 2 bathrooms? 3 bathrooms?
Three.
3 bathrooms?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, is it 3 bathrooms or? It is 3, yes.
3
And one
bathrooms.
is handicap accessible.
Okay,
And
thank you.
drinking water, and there will be a bicycle pump there as well.
I hope there's separate containers for
They
drinking
will be,
water.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Lichty?
Just now that you mentioned, where's the water gonna come from? Are you gonna pull it out of the lake?
No, there'll be a drilled well.
Okay. I have to explain.
Okay, so anyway, it's gonna come back with how we fund this. There are no more questions. All in favor? Carried. Return to council.
Moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Leonard, that council revert from committee of the whole council to council.
All in favor? Carried. I should take these notes with me and see her struggle.
I sure don't have it memorized. In case he was wondering. I get the high chair again. Hey, we have adoption of the report of the committee of the whole.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Lichty, resolved that the report of the Committee of the Whole be adopted and that the necessary actions or bylaws be enacted.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Any notices of motions?
So there is a motion of notice of which has been given, and that is request for the provincial government to recognize the physician shortage in Frontenac County. That's moved by Deputy Warden Vanderwall, seconded by Councillor Saunders, and through you, Madam Warden, I'll just go to the resolve clause. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac urges the Province of Ontario to recognize the physician shortage in Frontenac County and Ontario, to fund healthcare appropriately and ensure every Ontarian has access to physician care.
Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Carried. And I'm sure when we're at AMO, we will have opportunities to say that over and over again.
And we will be the only municipality.
No, I don't think we will. Okay, any giving of notice of motion? Communications? Is there any other business? Seeing none, bylaws. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Bill.
Thank you, Warden. Given the comment on AMO, can we comment or can the staff comment on what delegations would be made at AMO representing the county?
So we have submitted a request, a delegation for communal services, and we received word that we have a meeting with the Minister of the Environment. So working through those details, but we did submit a delegation around communal services, and that we did hear back regarding that one.
I can just add to that, the EOWC has set up all kinds of meetings with many, many different ministers. I don't know all the details, but there will be a good delegation going.
So to build on that, the EOWC has a focus on infrastructure, long-term care, and I forget the third one right now, but housing, housing, so.
Okay, we are at bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Leonard, resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce bylaws B through G that have been circulated to all members of County Council, and that bylaws B through G be read a first and second time.
Any discussion on any of those? All those in favor? Carried.
Moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Leonard, resolved that bylaws A through G be read a third time, signed, sealed, and finally passed.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Councillor Gowdy, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the meeting hereby adjourn at 10:43 a.m.